Welcome to another edition of the Color Pigeons and More TV show, the show that covers all aspects of the pigeon hobby, whether it be racing, performing rollers, flying tipplers, fancy show pigeon, and more. Interviews with well-known pigeon breeders, breed profiles, loft construction and management, pigeon health and treatment, show coverage, genetics, just to name a few. Watch, learn, and enjoy. And now let's go to our host, Danny Joe Humphrey, and see what this show is going to be about.
Hello, I'm Danny Joe Humphrey. I'm bringing to you today the 21st show of Color Pigeons and More TV. We got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking about performing rollers, something that I truly love and a lot of people love. A neat little bird, easy to raise, difficult to train sometimes. But what I'm going to do today is I got something I've been kind of holding back on you. We're going to be doing, on this show, we'll feature James Turner, Greenwood, South Carolina. And what we did about 4 years ago, it might have been 5 years ago, I'm not sure, we did a DVD on training performing rollers. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you some segments of that tape. The idea is to let you know his method of training rollers. Like I always say, it's not the only way to do something, okay? But if you got someone that's successful and you really don't have a guideline to go by, then you need to use this. We're going to have some clips from that DVD, and then we're going to have some other pigeon information for you today. So I want you to sit back and enjoy the video.
Color Pigeon Loft, featuring 28 breeds of fancy pigeons, high-performance Turner rollers. We have birds available at all times. Capuchins, Saxon monks, Saxon priests, Swiss crescents, ice pigeon, saints, frillbacks, archangels, starling, figuritas, old German owls, Chinese owls, satinets, swallows, Saxon shields, and much, much more. For breed availability, visit www.colorpigeons.com. For purchasing, pricing, and shipping info, call toll-free 1-800-527-0918.
Muir Nagel, better known as Dr. Pigeon by his friends, is known by his one-eye cold treatment. It's called One Drop, One Time. It only takes one drop, it only takes one time. Every breeder needs at least one bottle of One Drop, One Time to keep in their loft for those nasty eye colds. They're available at Foy's Pet Supply, New England Pigeon Supply, and Pro Flight Supply. And remember, the next time you buy pigeon supplies, be sure to include one bottle of One Drop, One Time.
Hi, this is Jerry Gagne, Foy's Pigeon Supplies, oldest pigeon supply company in the United States. When Danny Joe approached us about being a part of this great project, we were really excited. If you're looking for pigeon supplies, if you're looking for pigeons, I hope you'll give us a call. Foy's Pigeon Supplies, we're on the internet, just type in Foy's, or if you'd like to call us, it's 1-877-355-7727. Ask about our 204-page all-color catalog. We'd be glad to send it to you.
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Danny Joe Humphrey, and I've been a pigeon breeder for at least 40 or 45 years. Had a lot of different breeds. Of course, my favorite has always been rollers. Performing rollers, I'm sure most of you out there have some clue of what I'm talking about. It's a little bird, easy to raise, great parents. They do everything right, and they can really thrill us with the action. And what I got today is I've got a gentleman here. If there is an expert, we're not going to call him an expert because his head gets so big, won't be able to get it in the camera. But if there is an expert right now, it would have to be this gentleman right here. This is James Turner. James is from Greenwood, South Carolina. He's been nice enough to invite me down to visit him and everything. He didn't offer to buy me any gas or anything, but he did ask me to come down and visit him, and I'm here. We're having a great time. And one of the things we're trying to do that he's going to do for you is he's going to tell you about how to train and handle your rollers. Most people buy them, they don't really know what to do with them. They never get any roll or performance out of them because they really just don't know. They're naive. And hopefully James can set you on the right track on that and give you some basic information that you can use and make you a better breeder and also make your birds better. James, I guess the first question is, a man that doesn't have any rollers at all, and he decides he wants to get rollers, what is your first recommendation? What do you recommend that he do?
Well, the first thing I think he should do is try to find as good a stock as he can possibly get from some breeder that's known and has performance and has proven performance.
Right, right,
And if possible, he could go look at the birds and see what they would do in the air.
right,
That would be the first step.
right,
And then basically, to me, it would probably be better to try to get some birds that he could breed from.
right,
And if you probably can't buy the man's best breeders, I'm sure you can't, but he would have some birds maybe available, even if they were kit birds, that he would recommend breeding. And if he's the kind of reliable breeder that you should be talking to, then I would breed the birds and raise me some youngsters and train them.
right. Okay. Well, that sounds real simple. You buy them, you breed them,
And train them.
and train them.
Yeah.
That's the part right there we want to get into. We buy them and we breed them, and then we train them. But what are the steps that we need to take? When I say we, I'm speaking about you people that's new in the sport, or maybe you've been in the sport but you've never really had that much success with your birds. What do I need to do? You tell me what I would need to do. Let's say I came down here to visit you and I bought 4 pair of birds from me. You sold me 4. Maybe they were holdovers or whatever, but they were breeding eggs. So I'm going back now to North Carolina and I got these 4 pair of birds. Now what do I need to do from there? What you gonna tell me to do?
Okay, first of all, like I say, breed your birds and wean those birds as early as possible. The earlier the better. And I put mine, of course, the way I do it is only the way I do it. Maybe not the only way.
Well, we're gonna pretend like it's the only
But-
way for today,
okay.
okay?
But what I do is put them in the kit box.
Right,
And I've got a setup out there to where I put them in the kit box. I've got a trap door that I leave open.
right,
And on the outside, I hang a cage.
right,
And of course, I feed these birds all they want. And because they're young, they're developing, and they can come out of the kit box onto the landing board. Then they can get on top of the kit box. They can get back in the kit box. And when in a few days, they get comfortable with that.
right,
Okay, when they get comfortable, the next thing I do is I get them a little hungry, because one of the keys to flying rollers is the feed can. What
Right.
you feed them and how you feed them.
right,
But I get them a little hungry and I'll trap them in. And one thing I need to mention is each time I feed these birds, I just whistle softly.
right,
And they associate the whistling with the feeding.
right,
So when I get them hungry, one day I whistle them in, I'll shut the door. And I take the outside cage off. And in its place, I hang a landing board, which we will see later. And that these birds will basically, when I turn them out again, they will see what they've been seeing, with the exception there's no wire around them. So hopefully they come out the next day, they get on top of the kit box, they fly around a little bit, just do. And I usually keep them hungry, and I do it in the evening as possible. Now, there's 2 things about this. You think about it, if you put them in the morning, you got longer to get them back in, but what you really got is longer to lose them.
right,
So I fly them in the evenings, they're hungry, and I let them wander around, do what they're gonna do a little while, and then I start whistling.
How about letting them get on the ground?
I do not let them get on the ground. That is one rule, that they do not get on the ground.
Right,
And I whistled for the birds, and most of them will trap in, some of them will already be gone in. If for some reason 1 or 2 don't go in, I will move the others, leave the trap open, and I'll catch them all.
right,
Now, in my experience with these birds, if I can get them out and in 3 days, after the 3rd day, it becomes relatively easy. I mean, they've got in the routine. Young birds learn easy.
right,
If you let a bird get too old, before you try to train him, before you do anything, you're really compounding your problems. The birds will get too strong, he'll want to fly, and so do it quick.
right,
They learn real quick. Once you get them trapping in and out, then I start adding one bob a day, and of course we can see that. And pretty soon the birds are going out, they're making the little short flies, trapping in, doing fine. And now the next thing you got to do is just a matter of flying them as much as you can, as often as you can. And the key with the young birds, you got to feed them enough to let them develop physically. You've got to feed them enough to make them fly a while, but you've also got to keep them to where they'll trap. Now, if you get your birds to the point you're overfeeding and they don't want to trap, you really start to run into the problem. So keep them where they fly and trap. Once this happens, now you just, in a matter of repetition, fly as much as possible.
We say much as possible. 3 times a day, one time a day?
Well, I fly them every day that's possible.
Every day.
And if I can twice, I'll fly them twice.
Morning and afternoon.
Morning and
Before
afternoon,
feeding, right?
absolutely.
Before feeding, okay.
And I feed them, if I fly them in the mornings, I'll feed them just enough to get them in, and then I'll give them the rest of the feed in the afternoon.
Right. Okay, while we're there, while we mentioned the feed, when you get these birds, you were talking about to make sure they get enough nutrition all. But as a little bit of time goes on, what, do you change your feed at all, or you just give them the same thing?
I do. I feed them. I feed them a good mixture, a good grain where they can develop. Need enough protein. But once they get pretty much flying and doing good, I start feeding a 50% mix of wheat and milo.
That's it.
That's it. Now these birds can't survive forever on that. And occasionally I'll add a few peas, or
Right.
sometimes just good grain
Right.
to build them up. But basically, I feed 50% wheat, 50% milo.
Mhm. Do you use grit?
I give them grit occasionally. Now grit is something that I don't keep in there all the time,
Right.
just occasionally.
Right.
And of course, you fly these birds, and when they start developing, now a lot of people will just leave the birds, in there. But if I can, once I get a kit established, then if I have a second kit, I will bring the birds that are developing quicker into the first kit because they are performing more at the same level. Now, once you get these birds to performing and really spinning and spinning hard, I go to flying them every other day.
Every other day.
Now, the reason for that, if you get a bird, it's like any other athlete, you get tired legs in football, tired arm in baseball,
Right.
I guess tired wings in the
Right.
rollers. But you can actually fly the roll out of a good roll.
Right.
So it's a kind of a balancing act between the amount of feed the birds get and the amount of rest they get.
Right.
And so basically, once you get the kit in there and get them flying, and it's kind of you got to feed and read the birds. And when I use that term feed and read, there's a lot of people, and I've read a lot of books, and they'll give you an exact formula. Now, you think about it, if the temperature was the same thing every day, all the birds were the same size, they flew the same length, they worked the same amount, then the same amount of nutrition would be applicable.
Right.
But it doesn't happen that
Right.
way. So you got to realize that. Now, when I say again, feed and read, see, the birds will tell you what they need. And I recommend flying and breeding from a family of birds. And I know the question is, well, what makes a family better than just any birds? You can take a number of families, cross them, and you can have success. I'm not saying that, but a family of birds, if you stick with them and you work with them, you will learn the family, and you will learn to recognize how the family progresses, how they develop. You will know what to do and when to do it. If you have a number of families, then the different families will develop, and they will have different characteristics.
Right.
So just sticking with one family, and there is no one great family. There are a lot of good families.
Right.
So pick one and stick with it.